Hello and welcome to the iCandy Duo podcast. I'm your host, Naomi Williams. This podcast is brought to you by iCandy World, makers of beautifully British pushchairs for parents across the globe. Co-founder of a luxury fashion brand on a mission to fight slavery through fashion, as well as mother to 3 young children, we're delighted to be joined on the iCandy Duo podcast by Natasha Rufus Isaacs, where we will be talking growing families, juggling business pressures during COVID, and the Beulah Trust to help women break free from exploitation and poverty, and how she does all of this and balances life with her growing family. Thank you so much for joining us on the call today and being part of the iCandy podcast. It's fantastic to have you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
And congratulations as well, because I believe you've had it's India?
India.
In the height of the lockdown madness. You had casually your third daughter.
Exactly. I know. Well, no, she's beautiful and she's perfect. But no, thankfully I kind of haven't been that affected by COVID and kind of the restrictions, which has been good. But yeah, I mean, I had to go to every appointment alone, scans, etc. But when it came to the actual birth, I actually had my husband by my side throughout the whole thing. So
that
was good. Yeah.
Not
that it was much use, but
yeah. No, I mean, how did you find going to? Because you've got 2 other lovely little girls. I mean, you've got a house full of women. Your poor husband. But I mean, how did you find the experience of even going to those appointments solo this time round compared to when you had the other 2 girls?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really mind, to be honest. I had a brilliant midwife who kind of held my hand throughout the whole thing. So it didn't really make much difference, to be honest. I was sort of happy to go alone. I think it was just when it came to the birth, I was keen that he was there.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic though, that he was able to kind of actually be with you on the day that really, really mattered. Because I'm sure the apprehension was probably quite real for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. And I had actually quite a few friends who gave birth alone because they had sort of no childcare at home. So the husband sort of stayed at home and then picked them up afterwards. So, but yeah, no, I was fortunate in that sense. But also the NHS has been brilliant. So they were amazing throughout.
I think it's never an ideal situation. And, God love children also, like they're not going to just hang around and wait until the pandemic's over. They're coming when they're coming. And there's quite a few different people I've spoken to actually. And the NHS have just been astounding. And I think, like you say, with midwives and things like that, just having that support with you at every stage, I think has, kind of softened that blow. If you can have a partner there or not, I think that's kind of, been very much a true story for the last, 7-8 months. I mean, the 8 months of April we've had already. I mean, how have you found like the kind of recovery or just even like that experience post partum with your child with lockdown and everything going on?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of found it okay. I think having a newborn, you always feel like you're slightly in lockdown anyway. It's like that constant like baby haze and feeding, and you kind of can't really leave the house. But I think I was kind of grateful in that my husband was able to take shared parental leave when India was born. So he was with me for around 6 weeks or so over the summer, which was lovely. But I have found going from the jump from 2 to 3 children was seriously full on, but much more than the jump from 1 to 2. But having Rupert around, and I had a kind of part-time nanny who was a complete lifesaver and sort of came in and did all the washing and helped cook meals for the other 2. And but I think it was just that help at the beginning that when India was so little, that was so appreciated.
Yeah, of course, I bet. And because you've got, is it Georgia who's 5 and Sienna who's 3 at the moment?
Exactly.
So yeah, what was that like? I have to say, because I speak as a woman with no children, but I am the youngest of 3. So I'd be interested to know what that jump is actually like.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, the girls actually have been brilliant. and they're very girly girls and they love their dolls, and I think now they think they've got a real life doll, so they kind of play with her and very sweet with her. The odd poke and sort of scratch, but I think when Georgia was 2 when Sienna was born, and she was kind of too little almost to understand what was happening, and she was so jealous, and she just couldn't understand why I had a baby in my arms and why I couldn't kind of cuddle her. And I remember I was actually at my mum and dad's house, and she went to the bottom of the garden and literally screamed into a hedge for about 2 hours. And she was so upset. But now, this time round, she's just been delighted and, so excited. So it's really lovely to see actually.
Oh, fantastic. And the girls, they've kind of relaxed in with each other, and it's, I was going to say, is it looking like the picture of harmony? I mean, you've got three little girls in the house.
Sometimes, yeah. No, sometimes I think it's the eldest two actually that I find the hardest, because they're like 1 minute fine and then the next minute screaming at each other. And India's actually the easiest of the lot. But,
yeah, I bet she's kind of the most laid back one at the moment. Actually, I do remember, because there's 4 years between me and my middle sister, and 8 years between me and my big brother. And I remember they kind of saying to me, and this was like well into my teens, and they, my parents saying, "Oh no, the transition was all right." I mean, it was a bit chaotic for understandable reasons, but apparently I brought toys when I was born, so they thought, okay, she's cool. I think I brought my brother a Transformer and my sister a My Little Pony, and they were like, yeah, that's pretty decent of her. So that was how my parents did it. Did you have any like sort of similar tricks up your sleeve?
Yeah, we had actually we gave them presents when they got in. But yeah, I know that definitely softened it, but
yeah, I think I would even say that was a quick win. I think that's, I mean, this is back in the 80s when my parents did that. I think that's a tried and tested method.
It's all about bribery, isn't it? Really?
I think, little touches here and there certainly doesn't help. But so, I mean, you've certainly had your hands full over the summer. I mean, obviously, you're a busy woman. You've got a career as well. You've got your own business. I mean, how have you found the kind of balance between everything that's been going on over the last few months?
Yeah, I mean, it's the last 6 months have actually, in all honesty, have been really, really tough. So I founded a brand called Beulah with my business partner about 10 years ago, and we sell predominantly occasion wear. But obviously, with COVID, it's just, there's been no occasions, no ascot, no weddings. So actually the business has been really, really tricky. So we've gone through a pretty horrific process when I was sort of 8 months pregnant. So that was interesting. But I think generally kind of trying to balance business with motherhood is a real challenge. And I think I've felt a kind of constant strain between my kids and my business, and feeling that constant mum guilt from leaving in the morning when they're sort of screaming their heads off, and then going back to work when they're so little. But I think you have to think about it positively, and I'm kind of setting them an example, and I hope one day we'll open opportunities for them as well.
Absolutely. No, I can only imagine, but I can imagine there's lots of women that are also independent, business owners that can totally sympathise and hear the kind of the challenges that you must have, that you guys have undergone with your business, but also what you say about, having children and trying to manage your own business as well, because your careers and aspirations as a woman don't stop because you've had children. It's just how you can kind of try and fit the two in with as much, without feeling too much, I guess, like guilt or trying to balance it. I mean, have you found kind of almost being at home, obviously over the lockdown and stuff, has maybe helped with that? Or do you think it's kind of maybe been a bit more chaotic because, obviously the girls are at home with you?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely chaotic when we were sort of in the midst of trying to save the business, and I was on constant Zoom calls until about 8 o'clock every night. But that was really intense, and the kids couldn't go out the door. But actually, since now having India and on maternity leave, I've been able to kind of switch off a bit. And actually, because of lockdown, it's kind of meant that I haven't rushed back to work so quickly. So I've had that a bit more time with India. Whereas with the other two, I went back very quickly, kind of 3 or 4 months after.
And of course, I suppose it's those small kind of wins and graces that like lockdown has kind of given us, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It presents a balance and some kind of, like grace in some other ways. I mean, tell me about the brand. Obviously you specialize in occasion wear, and there's some absolutely beautiful pieces but it's more than that. It's more than just a fashion label. Like there's a lot of consciousness and a lot of other kind of other work that you do. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
My business partner and I set up the business about 10 years ago now. Gosh, it seems crazy. But with a mission really to, well, firstly, produce beautiful dresses, but also kind of more importantly, to help provide employment to victims of trafficking. So myself and Lavinia spent about 3 months working in an aftercare home with victims of trafficking. And I think what we witnessed was firsthand how important the power of employment was to really transform these women's lives, because by giving employment to them, they were essentially being kind of lifted out of poverty and able to then support their families. And, they were given their self-respect and self-worth back, and kind of able to then lead a new life. So we kind of support a couple of charities. They're based in India, which employ these ladies. But they aren't involved in the stitching of the actual garment, as that requires a very skilled kind of worker, but more in the silk block printing and the embroidery, for example.
Oh, that's incredible. And I imagine this is ongoing work for you guys. And I mean, like, what's the kind of, have you felt the effect of this? Have you seen the sort of success stories come through from this foundation?
Yeah, I mean, they've been able to, well, the couple of projects that we're working with have been able to expand, and one of them's employed a further kind of 50 women. And then another one, we've just actually, through our Beulah Trust, we funded a kind of a silk block printing facility, which then could employ a further kind of 20 women or so. So I think it's about creating sustainable employment and kind of doing our bit on that.
Fantastic. It really does sound like it's having quite a ripple effect as well, as you're kind of working in these key areas, and they're able to expand. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we'd love to do a lot more, but at the moment our business has slightly been put in hibernation. So we're, with not many people buying for occasions and things. But yeah, I mean, I think come next year, we definitely want to accelerate all of that work and carry it on.
Oh, absolutely. I think all of us will be barely indoors next year. I think we'll be all desperate to get dressed up and actually go out and actually have a wonderful time.
But makeup on. I don't think I've done that in about 6 months.
Oh no, honestly, you should see how sometimes I dress to the supermarket just to be like, no, I'm going to put on something really fancy. I'm going to do it. Like, this is my trip of the day. But it's interesting though, actually, because obviously you need occasions to have, the kind of to be able to support that, the businesses that you're doing. Obviously that has that knock-on effect to the trust that you're, and the women that you're trying to work with. I mean, do you think though, with like luxury fashion brands such as yourselves they're kind of changing shape? I mean, I see a lot in the news as well, that almost having that bigger understanding about the sort of supplier chain and where your clothes come from is becoming more and more part of that buying consciousness. Do you kind of see and feel that as well yourself?
Yeah, definitely we do. I mean, I think it's kind of the responsibility of every brand, luxury or not, that, they need to be doing more ethically and environmentally. But I think I kind of see customers as such a driving force really in that, and need to continue to be kind of challenging brands to do more. And, we're finding a lot more of our customers are becoming much more aware of, how is this dress made? What impact has that been on the workers who stitched and manufactured the garment, and kind of the impact on the environment. And I think we've seen a real shift actually now, probably more so than ever. When we started up 10 years or so ago, people were sort of beginning to talk about it, but I think now we see a real shift in the way the consumer's kind of demanding it to be an intrinsic sort of part of the brand.
Mm. And how do you think, obviously, yeah, like you touched on it, it's a very good point actually on the sort of more fast moving consumer goods, that faster fashion brands and things they have, they've got a real huge responsibility to play in this, as much
Mm,
as like the smaller boutique brands like yourself that, you can have a bit more direct involvement and control over how your business is run. It's these
yeah.
larger brands as well that need to have a bit more accountability. I mean, how, obviously that's within sort of fashion as a primary, because I know, they are a huge drain, like you say, especially environmentally. Do you see any kind of big changes or shifts that are coming through on sort of like children's clothes and nursery products?
I mean, I definitely have this my wardrobe HQ, which is actually the UK's first kind of fashion retail marketplace. It actually stocks Beulah, so you can rent dresses for the day or for a couple of days. They've recently launched My Wardrobe Kids, so you can essentially rent a beautiful kind of Marie Chantal dress, for example, for the day if there's a birthday party or a special event. And I suppose just encouraging people to buy less.
That's
But
that's a great idea, especially with children's wear, because you want them to, like you say, like birthday party, you want to get them something really beautiful and special, but they're also going to
mm,
grow out of it in about 20 seconds. So, instead
exactly,
of just buying for that one occasion repeatedly, they could use this service and just, really effectively rent and then return, and other people can get to use the same items.
exactly. No, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant concept, and I think the same with iCandy. I love my peach buggy, and you're able to change the newborn to toddler, and it's got a step, so my middle daughter can kind of stand on it, and my oldest often fights for her spot. She's so lazy and hates walking, but it's wonderful because it sort of adapts as the children grow up, and similar with the my chair as well. It sort of adapts as your child grows. So
No, absolutely. I mean, that's, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's always at the core of what we do. Obviously, we want to provide something that's absolutely future proof, so it can adapt and change and develop with a growing family, but also, they have a huge sort of afterlife,
mm,
and anything we can do in that respect of not, filling landfill unnecessarily. But also,
exactly.
it's an effective way to use space. We also always keep the kind of our families in mind. Like you say on
Mm,
the My Chair, it's a great modular piece of furniture, but it's not 8 chairs, it's one that can
no,
adapt. So it's also good if you've got, three little girls in the house, you don't want to have
I know.
multiples of chairs. So, but no, that sounds a really exciting thing, and I know definitely that kind of leading the force in sustainability when it comes to fashion is actually, the use of renting and secondhand wares, and especially with, much more sort of, I suppose, higher end products, because they're built to last, and they can absolutely be, used and borrowed and rented a number of times because of that high quality finish that they have. I think
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
fantastic. So, I mean, are you making obviously your girls are still very little, and but the work you're doing is hugely important. Like, how are you kind of, are you able to kind of introduce these sort of things and to them at such a young age, or is it definitely something that you will want them to get involved in as they grow up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when they're definitely old enough, I would love them. I'd love to take them out to India and meet the women who are kind of working in these projects, and who've been through pretty dark times, and I think it's pretty humbling to go back there when I go back there, which is not hugely often, but to see their smiles and how happy they are, and to see their resilience, it's really really moving, and I'd love for them to see that and witness that, and kind of to instill that in them at a kind of a young age. But yeah, but when I was sort of little, my dad would take us off to homeless shelters for Christmas, and we'd help serve out soup to them. And I remember I really didn't want to go, but actually afterwards, it just had a real impact on me, and kind of you should appreciate what you have, and it's a really crucial thing, I think, to do with your children.
No, I absolutely think so. And I think, especially, how COVID and obviously the lockdown has impacted so many people like yourself. You've even been affected by it as well. Like, in many, many different facets. There's families all over the UK that are experiencing hardship that they could never have expected. So I think actually, like you say, even from when your dad used to take you to soup kitchens and stuff like that, it's so important to understand how this is affecting everybody and kind of building that community more so now amongst us all to support each other in our communities more than ever. I mean, looking at Georgia, I'm thinking, oh gosh, she's 5. I mean, I'm sure you've been potentially bogged down with homeschooling. Are these themes that potentially you've been able to kind of incorporate in some way while she's been at home?
Well, homeschooling hasn't gone so well, actually. Every time I got out a phonics book, Georgia would scream. So I sort of gave up after about day 2. But I have to say I wasn't great with that. But
I
yeah,
suppose it's just building those conversations,
now, so.
even as a young girl. I have to say that does make me smile. I mean, likewise, I don't have any kids, so my lockdown experience has been very, very different. But I have seen some very, very tired iCandians who have had varying aged kids. Some even sitting in on calls trying to do maths homework, and they're just like, oh, like this is impossible. But
no, I mean, actually, Georgia had a Zoom ballet class the other day, which actually was quite good, actually.
Did you take part?
No. My youngest just tried to take part and then lasted for about 2 minutes. But yeah, no, it's funny times for them. I think we'll probably look back and think, they've definitely been deprived of their play dates, but they've kind of adapted to it quite well.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about online ballet classes and stuff. Have there been any kind of really useful online tools for you that you found have been brilliant? Anything like YouTube or anything like that?
Yeah, we've done a bit of YouTube. We've done I mean, we have. I've just sort of tried to get them out quite a lot. We were over the summer. We sort of went up to Norfolk and we were sort of right by the beach, and so I tried to get them out and off the screens and everything like that. So
yeah, I know. Again, no mean feat, I'm sure.
No, exactly.
Up and out, all that kind of stuff. Well, hopefully, as we're approaching the end of the year, a bit of normality will come by. I mean, you're saying that Georgia's back at school and Sienna's at nursery. Like, how are they responded to that? Because I know obviously it's quite a different setup in some ways from what they're used to.
Yeah, I mean they've sort of been fine. Georgia actually went back to school probably in, I think it was end of May, June time. So she wouldn't miss out a huge amount at school. But no, they've adapted pretty well and they're back in their routines and they're all fine. Yeah.
Kids are kind of good like that, aren't they? Just show them a new norm and they'll over time get used to it. I mean, how have you found the whole experience? Because I've been working from home now since when it kicked off at the end of March. And I kind of joke with my colleagues, it went from working from home to living at work, which kind of is now. Certainly certain rooms are now in my house very much like if I go into that room, I'm sitting at my email. So that room is kind of almost barred at the weekends. Have you found any kind of, I mean, I've granted, on maternity, but was there anything that you particularly struggled with or any kind of particular things that that helps you kind of try and draw a line under work at one point and be with the family at others?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty intense. I think I was working kind of all hours, but kind of during lockdown. But actually now my husband's kind of taken the top attic room, so no one dares kind of venture upstairs, kind of lead them to it. But actually, it's been kind of really nice having him around. As I'm sort of taking maternity leave, it's nice to have him around the house. And but actually, we were saying today, I think it's because he's not commuting. He's definitely working very hard, and there's lots of Zoom calls and lots of work going on. So
I'm sure there's lots of people, and I know definitely from myself, you fall into that trap. You kind of what you save on commuting, you now find yourself just sort of working longer hours because you just think, well, I'm actually at home already. What's another half an hour to finish that email? But it is quite a dangerous trap. But it must be nice, even if he's probably upstairs working his full sort of 9-10 hour days, just to have him around.
Exactly. It's been really nice. Exactly.
Brilliant stuff. So what do you think is coming up for you in the next few months with the trust and, you know, all these kind of amazing projects you've got going on, is there anything in particular that you're setting your eyes on, or are you just getting through the next few months of maternity before the madness hits?
Yeah, I mean, my business partner Lavinia has been sort of holding the fort, so I'm probably going back to work beginning of next year at some point. So yeah, I mean, we're going to be opening the store again. We have a store on Elizabeth Street, and then kind of ramping up for summer. But it's sort of still quite unknown as to what events are going to be taking place and what, you know, what the landscape is going to look like, really. But yeah, I mean, I think definitely re-looking at and re-strategizing, you know, our business model, and looking at, you know, for example, more day wear and more kind of transitional pieces that you can wear kind of from drop off to sort of to a wedding, you know, that you can kind of style differently. And I think that's what people are looking for, you know.
Absolutely. And I think if we, you know, if this carries on and that, you know, working from home becomes more of a, definitely more of a normality and more of a permanent thing, I just request that you look at loungewear, that we've all fallen into this horrendous trap of knits, and maybe just, you know, do a really lovely line of like really fancy Zoom tops or something like that, just to help us all slowly get back into the psyche of, you know,
pajamas. We need to do.
Oh my God, do please, like a really fancy cashmere set, and be like, this isn't your usual loungewear. Because actually we were just joking actually on a chat channel this morning of just being like, oh my God, what is that going to look like? You know, we're all kind of like, you know, the quarantine 15, you know, the kind of weight gain, all this kind of stuff. We're all in elasticated waistbands and lots of soft, forgiving fabrics.
Post baby is fine, but
I mean, yeah, you've just had to
get back to normality.
But ours has just been sat at home. But yeah, no, anything like that will be warmly received, and I think bring a bit more luxury, you know, something a bit more fancy for the homeware. I think that'd be brilliant. But fantastic. Well, look, thank you so much for spending the time and having a chat with me this afternoon. It's been absolutely brilliant just to go through everything that you're, you know, and really touch on some of the amazing things that you've been doing, and also all the while juggling 3 little girls in the mix as well.
Oh, thank you. I know. Thank you so much. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, take care, and we will, we'll speak soon. To find out more information about the topics covered in today's podcast, please go to the iCandy blog page on www.icandyworld.com/ICLife, where you'll find all the relevant links. iCandy is a proud supporter of Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital charity. COVID-19 means the hospital is facing new challenges and needs more support than ever to continue the life-changing care and research for seriously ill children. If you are able to support GOSH, please head to our dedicated fundraising page on www.justgiving.com/company/iCandy.